Hey Scots Nation, welcome back to episode 3 of the Maryville College Athletics podcast, Tartan Talk. I'm your host, Connor Gahagan. Today's guest is senior women's soccer player Sierra Lee. Sierra enters her senior year with 31 career goals and was the 2022 CCS Offensive Player of the Year. Please welcome Sierra Lee. Hi, welcome back to episode 3 of our podcast. Our guest today is Sierra Lee. Sierra, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Sierra Lee. I'm on the women's soccer team. I'm a senior. My major is biology, and I'm also minoring in chemistry and history.
All right, can you tell us a little bit about why you chose Maryville College?
I chose Maryville College for the environment. It's very supportive, and the coaches here are really adamant about making sure school comes before athletics, and athletics are second. And it was just a really big thing for me to have that as my number one instead of going to a school that cares more about sports than their schooling.
So you came in as a freshman. Did you see the field right away?
I did actually, yes. I split minutes with our senior when I was a freshman.
And then sophomore year, you were Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, it was really a shock to me to go from splitting minutes with a senior that was as good as the senior that I shared minutes with to going and becoming the Offensive Player of the Year.
What do you think kind of went into that in your sophomore year?
I trained really hard over the summer and prepared myself because I knew my freshman year I came in, I wasn't as fit as I should have been. And I feel like that's where your freshman year is important. You see all the things you did wrong the summer before to prepare yourself for the rest of your 3 years here.
How did Coach Pepe and your other coaches help kind of shape you to where you were able to go out your sophomore year and produce at such a high level?
They really hold you to high standards. They're not going to ever let you slack off or anything. So days that you're having a rough practice, they realize they'll notice that you're having a rough practice and constantly motivate you to do better. And then practices where you're working hard and it's just not coming for you, they are very supportive. And then practices where you're doing well, they push you to do even better. And they constantly just hold you to that high standard where you know you can do better than you're always doing.
So it's your senior year. What are you most looking forward to about the year?
I think I'm looking forward to getting to the conference tournament because that's such an exciting part of the year, and it's always everyone's favorite part. The adrenaline's high, and then it's just all the support through the school. It's just a really exciting time.
Last year, you guys won conference and went on to St. Louis to play WashU. Came a little bit short. Going into this year, what are you trying to do a little bit differently?
I think when we went into WashU, we kind of changed up our playing style a little bit, and I think that's where we felt unsuccessful. But then in the second half, we held them 0-0 pretty much, and I think that's because we went back to playing our own style, and we realized that for the first half that we just needed to play like ourselves, and we were very successful when we were playing like ourselves. So I think just sticking to our roots and how we play in our system is a big thing for us coming this year.
So this last weekend, first set of home games had a game Friday, Saturday, both of them really affected by weather. Do you think that played into the outcome at all? Kind of both were tie games?
I don't really want to blame it on the weather. I think it's just very, we have new players this year. We're trying to play a new system. I think it's really good for us that we had these first 2 games, and even if they were delayed by the weather, I think it's nice to have had those. You always want to win, but having those tied results was, I think, a good thing to show us where we are and what we need to work on, because our ties were because of simple mistakes, and those are the mistakes that we need to see happen to fix them. And if they didn't happen, we'd probably end up making them later on. So it sucks that we had to tie these games, but it's also nice because you get to see where you want to move forward. So I wouldn't really blame it on the weather. I would just blame it more on it's beginning of the season and we're still figuring out our new team.
So for the weekend, you had 3 shots. One of them went in. Kind of talk to us a little bit about that.
That goal actually on Tuesday before, I went out with one of our coaches and was like practicing shots like that constantly. So it was just kind of like became instinct. So when I got the ball, I just instinctively shot it in like the exact way that I did at practice, and it just worked out.
Can you talk a little bit about your transition to playing more midfield this year?
I actually did not know I was transitioning to play midfield this year until our games this weekend, because at practice I've been playing center forward, and I don't know if it's because he wanted me back to win more headers or exactly what, but I actually was not expecting to play midfield this year, and I don't know if I'll keep playing midfield because even at practice yesterday I was back into my normal position. So I'm not 100% sure about the midfield stuff.
So this weekend, how did you have to change your play style after finding out about that?
I just knew that at center forward, you're like constantly moving, but it's a different kind of movement. So when I got put in the midfield, I was having to play more like box to box, which is a lot different for me than having just like use one half of the field for the most part. So I just kind of had to figure out like when to use like my like highest amount of energy, and the ball movement is so much different in the midfield because you're having to like work both sides. So I just kind of had to prepare myself to go from only working the one part of the field to pretty much all the field.
Weekend versus Bob Jones and center. Can you talk to us a little bit about match preparation and what you're looking to do this weekend?
I think this weekend will be a good test for us being on the road for 2 games instead of being at home. And to prepare for that, I think we really just have to get out of our own heads, because I feel like that's also a big thing that we struggled with in the second half. We were like in our heads, and we started out on, I don't know if on Friday we started out ahead. I think we did, yeah. But we started ahead in both games, and then we ended up falling to a tie. So I think it's just like trying to figure out how to stay focused the whole game instead of falling short in the second half will be really important for us, and just preparing for that really.
You mentioned kind of that falling short in the second half, but on Saturday, the late night game, there was, a couple last minute shots that could have gone in, kind of put you guys ahead, kind of seeing those shots. What was the feeling like on the sideline just to come just short?
You always want to have those wins, but I think considering that we could have won that game was really hard for us, especially since those 2 that hit the post right at the end of the game, and then not being able to we had plenty of shots, so just not being able to finish those was kind of a little bit put us down a little bit. But I think it also just prepared us to work harder for our next games, and because we want it now. You want it more after you don't win a game. It makes you want it more each game. So I think having just not scoring those last few goals kind of just prepared us and put us in the mentality that the next game we're going to have to score those goals.
This year, new keeper Sydney Marr saved 5 goals on Saturday. What's it like having her out there compared to last year when you had Sophie?
It is different because their play style is very different, and I was roommates with Sophie. She was one of my best friends. So you just have that level of trust. And in the spring, Sydney really proved to us that she was ready, because we had Sophie my first 3 years here, so everyone just knew her in the goal. So it's always different having a new keeper. You're always a little nervous, but in the spring she worked really hard. She played really well. She trained super hard at practice every single day. So I think the nerves, she's slowly helping us ease into it, and we all really trust her. She's really good at what she does, and she really I think she motivates the whole team. She is really good at talking. You never have to guess what she's wanting you to do. She always lets you know someone's there. I think having Sydney, it's different, definitely, but I think it's going to be a good change for us.
Right. So for our last podcast, we had interim athletic director Andrew Wu on, and he gave us a little bit of a controversial opinion on who his favorite soccer team is. So can you kind of weigh in on where you think your favorite team is, and whether it's USL or international team?
I mostly just watch women's soccer, so the NWSL, And my favorite team on there is Portland Thorns because I love Sophia Smith. I loved watching her in the Olympics, but I feel like they just keep like such a high level of play, and that's something that I don't want to play like soccer after college, but it's just so nice like seeing like the like level that you can play at as a woman, and I just love watching Sophia Smith. She's so good.
So you mentioned you watched the Olympics. What did you think being able to go back, win gold, just kind of the feeling as a female athlete, seeing them play at such a high level?
I was really excited, especially after the World Cup when we fell short, sadly, but I was super excited about like seeing them like come back with a new coach. And I do think like their new coach helped them a lot. And that just goes to show like coaching really does like make the team. Because if you have a poor coach, like the players are motivated. And so like seeing that they have a good coach and how successful they are shows that like we have a good coach and we could be so successful just because of the level of support we have from our coaches.
You mentioned that Pepe coached your coach. Obviously, he's left such a strong legacy and developed so many talented players. A lot of them come to practice, sometimes give back to the team?
I think homecoming is normally when we have a lot of the alumni come and visit us, and they like to tell us their stories here and talk about the friendships that they've made that last. And I love seeing them, hearing those stories, because like I feel like our friendship that we have here with the team right now, I think that will last, and seeing that it's lasted for other people, it's really motivating to like keep in touch with all your previous teammates and everything.
Mm-hmm. So real quick, could you maybe tell us one of your favorite stories revolving around the team?
Like our team right now?
Yeah.
I have to say it's definitely when we won conference, because the guys, they sadly didn't win conference last year, but the girls and guys teams are both really close. So like when we won conference, the guys were just as excited for us as if they would have won it themselves. And that was just such a strong moment for me to like see it in action, that the guys are there to support us too. Like we don't just have the girls team, we have the guys team supporting us. So you have two full soccer teams of people. If you need anyone, right, they're always there for you. So like that moment when we won the conference, we have a picture of all of us like together, the guys running in with us in the little huddle. And I think that's probably my favorite moment, when the girls and guys team were all in that huddle after we won conference last year.
Can you talk, since you're a senior this year, you know, everybody at Maryville College has to do a thesis. You're a biology major. What are you looking at for yours?
I may end up having to change mine because I was supposed to work on it this summer, but my thesis advisor left the school. But I was going to test the epidermal cell density of sugar maple leaves in the Smoky Mountains at 2 different elevations. And so I'd collect the leaves, I'd bring them back here, and then I'd do an epidermal peel and then measure the epidermal cell density and see how it differs at the elevation. And I was going to do it based on seasons, but I think I might just have to do it based on elevation.
What's it like coming here to continue your soccer career and also learn about your future career in biology and be able to do such in such a place that has rich biodiversity?
I love doing like anything biology, and the fact that the natural sciences department here, you get to like actually do an experiment, like really puts you out there to like what you might do in the future, which what I'm testing right now isn't going to be something I do in the future, but it's always good to have like that research kind of experience, especially like any job in a lab in the future, they're going to want you to have that experience. So it's nice to come to like a small school like this and be able to get the things that like you wouldn't normally get at a smaller school like this. So I think it's like really nice to be able to be at a small school with like such a good program, and all the professors are like always willing to help you, and it's just like very interesting to like see all the different like ways you can go about like your thesis or like any sort of type of experiment that you would like to do, you can most likely do it here.
Can you expand a little bit more on how you think that being able to come to a small school, have good relationships with your professor has not only helped you develop as a student, but maybe even as a student athlete?
It's really nice to come here as a student athlete, especially because when you're like missing for classes, your professor knows exactly who you are, what time you have class with them, what class you have with them. As where if you were at a bigger school, there's like hundreds of people in your class. Even if you miss class, your professor's probably not even gonna realize you're not there. So like having like that one-on-one kind of relationship with your professors is just super nice here, because once you get into your like upper level classes, your class size is going to be super small. I think my biggest class right now is like 11 people. So like you have like extra like one-on-one time with your professors, and then they always have office hours, and they're so willing to like work around your schedule if you can't make their office hours. So I think like being at a small school where you have those like personal relationships with your professors is really important. So like when you miss class, you're not just like missing class. You're like always able to make everything up and everything like that.
So maybe a couple last questions here. Coach Pepe always talks about this idea of stand free. Can you tell us maybe what that means?
It's based on this old team, like this team, I can't even remember when, but I think we just like really like the ideals of this team and everything, so we've just kind of like taken it as our own. And he hasn't really explained it super well to us, but it just like means a lot to the team and like our environment as a team.
Can you talk to maybe what it means to you personally?
To me personally, it just means, I don't know, like you're always like supported, like you always have someone around you, like a group of people that are always there for you, which may not be the actual like meaning of it, but I just take it as like you're never alone. Like there's always someone there with you. And I feel like as a student athlete, you need to know that you're like someone's always there, because sometimes it like gets hard during the season. Like, you get stressed, you have school, and then you're traveling. So like always knowing that someone's there with you. So like having Stand Free as like our team thing is just like really important, because you know like you always have your team.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Tartan Talk. If you're new here, please don't forget to subscribe. And if you're on YouTube, hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Thank you, and go Scots.